When was the last time you used a phone box? And if you actually found one, did it even have a phone? I mean, this one doesn't, obviously, but that's because this is the first ever version of the now iconic British phone box, before we got the big red ones most of you are probably thinking of. And ever since we all started carrying these around in our pockets, they've mostly become obsolete. In fact, in recent years, councils and charities have been able to purchase their local phone boxes for just £1 and pretty much do whatever they want with them. But not this one. This one's actually grade 2 listed, and that means it's classed as having significant historical importance. So this one's not going to be going anywhere for a long time. Now this is something called a K1, short for Kiosk 1. It was the first ever version of these nationalised telephone boxes before the red ones, basically. They first appeared in 1921, and ever since then they've gone through a few changes, including changing colours, of course, into a couple of different colours actually. And whilst this one might not be active, there is at least one still working K1 telephone box, but it's quite far from here. It's on the Isle of Wight, so it was a little bit out of the scope of this video. But if any of you happen to be planning a trip to the Isle of Wight, you can find an active one of these. It's in great condition and it still makes phone calls. Now, not only is this one derelict, it's kind of in a bit of a random place. You might notice we're just sort of in the middle of nowhere. It's very scenic though, it's very nice. So this one of course has been moved from its original place. I don't know exactly where, I guess in the nearest town or village. And this one was also repurposed. It was at one point filled with measuring equipment somewhere down there, I guess. And it was used to measure water flow, which is kind of a cool idea. It's pretty iconic looking. All that equipment has since gone though, so these days it's just a bit of a historical monument. And since it's now grade 2 listed, it's not going to be going anywhere for a long time, or I guess at least if it does get moved, it's going to be preserved and just put in a new place. I think that's how it works. Pretty awesome though. There's not really too much left in here. I guess still got the old door frame, the little shelves. You can sort of imagine when there used to be a floor, standing in here making your phone calls. Now today what we're going to try and do is find a bunch of phone boxes that have been repurposed for some unusual reasons, in some unusual ways, sorry. So we're going to travel around a little bit in West Yorkshire, see what we can find, and hopefully eventually find an actual working phone box, which on paper shouldn't be too difficult. Apparently there are still around 20,000 active phone boxes in the UK, which sounds like a lot, but I don't see very many around. I don't know about you, but I haven't seen one for a long time. So we'll see how we get on. Now our first stop is going to be Haworth. We might be the first people ever to travel all the way to Haworth just to look at a phone box. But, you know, we got to do what we got to do, right? Before we head out though, it's so nice here. I just wanted to have a little walk along the stream. The weather forecast, I checked it, it just said it was going to be pure sun, no cloud all day. But to be honest, I think this might be better. We're kind of in the bottom of a little valley here, and it feels like old England. It's got a real atmosphere to it. I learned something new getting ready for this video as well, and it was that it was the post office that originally owned the telephone network. Maybe this is common knowledge, but it wasn't for me. But it's quite an interesting history as the telephone technology and the network in the UK was emerging and being developed. Eventually it was consolidated and ownership ended up with a company called GPO, General Post Office, which is who we now know today as Royal Mail. So they were controlling the postal network and the telephone network, which is going to make a lot of sense actually with regards to one of these designs in particular, because the K1 was just the beginning. I wonder how old this bridge is. What's the deal with this? Is that for walking over? I mean, it looks like it, right? I don't want to be a dummy and fall in, but that looks like a footbridge. Probably be rude not to, wouldn't it? This weather's incredible. Let's give it a try. Why is this here? Does anyone have an explanation? I've never seen anything like this. It feels very sturdy though. Oh, what a great view of the water as well. Sorry, this might not be on camera, but it's very nice here. Okay, quality bridge. Ooh, there's a bit of wobbling actually. So we're in Keithley, kind of the district of Keithley. It's quite a big area. I kind of want to stay here, I'm not going to lie. I should have just brought a picnic, a hot coffee, sitting on the side of that bridge. That sounds great. Let's do our best though to ascend out of the fog and make our way to Haworth. I actually hadn't thought about it recently, but it's been quite a long time since I've been sort of out in the open. I know I do a lot of outdoor videos, but that place was just so peaceful. Haven't heard a lot of bird song for a while. There was water running past as well. It was good, very relaxing, very much needed. All right, welcome to Haworth. Let's try and find that box. I was tempted to say that I'd walked all the way here. It would have been kind of far though. All right, phone box number one. It's a little bit tight in here. I apologize if this is way too close up. Let me move the camera back, you can see what I can see. So this box is a tourist information centre. I don't know if it's the only tourist information in the town, but it's certainly the only box I've heard of that has been turned into something like this. I think it's a good idea though. It's a very good fit for Haworth. What have we got? Bradford City of Culture 2025. Breezy Knees Gardens. From a riot of colour, they're really going for their marketing there. I'm sure it's a good place though. What else we got? World of James Herriot. Ooh. I don't know who James Herriot is, I'm afraid. I need to educate myself. Alright, and we've got a map of the town. Where are we? I'm sure there's a big arrow saying you are here. Where is it though? I can't see it. Am I blind? Oh, here, that's us. We're in the box. I did a video here actually a while ago. One of my first ever videos was in the church graveyards about the history of Haworth. Very brief. It was about 1 minute long. And, oh, funnily enough, to Oxenhope, this is where we're going to be going next. So, let's continue our journey. Let me know what you think the next box is going to be. Now's the time to place your bets. This is how popular Haworth is. It's a Friday today, 10:30 a.m. and the tour guides are already out. And the crows, for some reason. What's going on? Now, as I mentioned earlier, or at least I think I did, this telephone network was originally owned by the postal network, GPO, General Post Office. I'm thinking Great British Post, but it's General Post Office. So they were running the postal system and the phone network, and that resulted actually in a different version of one of these telephone boxes to what we've seen so far. It was kiosk number 4, K4 for short, and it was very unique and a bit of a beast. They were pretty massive. Basically, it was a telephone box combined with a stamp machine and a post box as well, so 3 things in one. Bigger and heavier than the usual one, and I think that's one of the reasons why it didn't become a widespread version of these telephone boxes. There was quite a few made, but it was very expensive and not without its issues. Apparently the stamp machine would sometimes interfere with the sound of the phone calls, so didn't work out too well, but a cool idea. I don't think there's any of those still active, but there is at least one still standing in Whitley Bay, if you know Whitley Bay. So you can find it near, I think, the metro station, but that's the only one I can think of. Where are we going? We need to get to Oxenhope. At least we're out of the clouds now, for now. Maybe we're about to head back into them. Let's go and see what the next box is, and we'll see if you guessed correctly. Now, Oxenhope is only, I think, about 2.5 miles from Haworth, which is why I totally 100% walked all the way here. Hopefully Future Jack doesn't include the footage of that reservoir that we drove past, because that looked pretty cool. Okay, let's see if you guessed correctly. We're about to find out what the next box is. Let's see. It's the library. All right, this might be my favorite of all the ways to repurpose a phone box. This is a bit of a spoiler for one of the ones we're heading to, by the way. Just pretend you haven't seen that. That's just a big yellow book. Now, I really like this idea, because I like book swaps. I always wish, like a lot of people, that I would read more, but I never read the same book twice. And I've even brought something to leave here, actually. Let me see if I can set this down somewhere. And I brought a brand new book to leave. This is not an advert, by the way. I just really like this book. It's all about Yorkshire. It's a very casual read, written in a very fun, easygoing style, and it's been the source of a lot of ideas for my recent videos. I'm even going to leave some Northern Introvert stickers in there. So if anyone watching happens to be nearby to Oxenhope and you want this, you can come and get it. If not, hopefully one of the locals will pick it up. Oh, there's a space down here. So it is on the second shelf, just up from the bottom. If you want it and you're nearby, it's all yours. Let me know if you did end up with it though. I don't know if we have any viewers from Oxenhope. We'll find out soon. What else have we got? Anything that might look interesting? A lot of Dan Brown. Mostly murder mystery, crime thrillers, and a couple of cooking books. I think this is a K6 box. You can tell by the design of the windows. For anybody who really wants to know, you've got these narrow slats on the right hand side. There is a very similar looking one called a K2 box, which is much older, and I don't know if they're still around, but the windows are all evenly sized, so they look similar but pretty distinct. These are the most iconic ones. And I think when these were most prevalent in the 90s, there was something like around about 100,000 telephone boxes across the UK. And I don't actually know how many exactly there are now. Now, of course, the red ones being the most well-known, I'm just trying to find a footpath. It's not going to be constantly passed by loud cars. So obviously the red boxes kind of get all of the glory, but there's another edition, another version of the British phone box, which is arguably more well-known, more famous. You might have already guessed it, maybe. It's probably known around the world, I would think. What else can I say without giving it away? Not too much. It's a different colour, actually. You probably got it by now anyway. It's the blue Metropolitan Police box. Made, I think it's fair to say, world famous by the TV show Doctor Who. So it's the TARDIS. The TARDIS is based on a real thing, the police box. And I didn't know anything about this before I started reading up on these. In fact, for me, my main connection with that was from the TV show. I never really, it sounds stupid, I never really connected it back to being a real thing. But these were pretty cool, they were pretty impressive. The biggest of all the versions, and they had a lot of features. So yeah, so these boxes could do a lot. First of all, maybe the most important one, they had a publicly accessible telephone that anybody could use to phone directly to the police. But then inside, they were much more spacious than any other telephone box, and they were kind of like a miniature police station. So members of the police force could go into these boxes to write reports and fill out paperwork. Sounds like fun stuff, right? But they could also use the space to detain suspected criminals. And this was a feature that made me laugh, because they are bigger than all the other boxes, but they're not that big. So when I read it, I was just kind of picturing a police person stood in there with a suspect, shoulder to shoulder, saying, just please wait here, don't run away, while they're filling out the paperwork. And I guess they would just have to wait until somebody else arrived with a car, or I don't know, to be honest. I couldn't find any actual accounts for what the process was, but that was part of the purpose behind the design. They also had inside first aid kits, fire extinguishers, so they could do quite a lot. And I don't think they're still standing. I couldn't find too much information about what happened to them all. So this is going to be a question that I'm throwing over to you lot. In case you happen to know, are there any still around? Are they still standing? I'd be really surprised if any were still functioning. I'm pretty sure they're not. But there might still be some around just for like historical purposes. I'm actually walking the wrong way here. I was just trying to get away from the cars. So we still haven't found a working phone box. I'm feeling hopeful though. We've got 2 or 3 more places to check out. The next one might be the most unique. We saw a bit of a clue a few minutes ago, but let's pretend we didn't see that. That's not all there is to this next box though. So let's head out and we'll see what we find. I think it's only about 6 miles away as well, so we can walk that, no worries. Edit out the driving. Remember, edit out the driving. Nobody needs to know. I was very impressed, by the way. This just came to mind now. In the last video, when we went to Bramhope Tunnel, there was maybe like a handful of 3-second long max driving shots in there, front facing, and a couple of people at least noticed some very specific cars that were parked on the side of the road that hadn't even got my attention at the time. I sort of saw them, but I didn't know what they were. So now I've kind of got my eye out. Haven't seen anything wild today though. No Lamborghinis. All right, here we go. Now this one, it's a defib. Oh, I haven't seen one of these for ages. It's really noisy, so we might have to go inside in a second. So this is a dedicated defibrillator box. In case you don't know what a defibrillator is, it's a machine, critical machine used to basically save the lives of anybody suffering from a cardiac arrest. So, for example, if you were to find somebody collapsed who had had a heart attack and they were potentially unconscious, this might be the machine that would be needed to kickstart their heart and get the blood flowing through their body again. So they literally save lives at really critical moments. It's very noisy. Now, these phone box defibrillators have been installed by a charity called the Community Heartbeat Trust, and their entire goal, their entire purpose as a charity, from what I can understand, is to grow and maintain this network of defibrillators around the UK. And so far, they've installed over 700 in phone boxes alone. And that's not including defibrillators in other busy public areas like airports, train stations, and so on. So particularly in rural villages like Willesden, where we are today, access to hospitals might not be as close as it needs to be in that kind of situation. So these can be a really, really important part of the key healthcare infrastructure. Let's try and find a bit more of a quiet area. I can tell you a little bit more about these. Now, I don't know actually how prevalent these are in other countries. I genuinely have no idea, but I'm interested and I'm curious. Do you have defibrillators just around in public places? Is this a worldwide thing? Because when I was younger, maybe I just didn't know about it, but I don't think they were very common. Now, if you're a little bit worried that you might ever need to use one of these and you don't know how, well, that's all right, because they've been designed in a way that means that even with no experience, you're still going to be able to use one of these machines and potentially save somebody's life. So what would happen if you were to find somebody suffering from cardiac arrest? First of all, call 999. They're going to help you through and instruct you on what to do. And if necessary, they'll tell you where the nearest defibrillator is. So even if it might seem, particularly for tourists, as though it's disguised, you might not see it from afar away, they're going to help you out and they'll show you exactly where it is so that you or a passerby can go and get the machine. And once you've got it, the machines actually have speakers in them. So they'll speak out the instructions to you and guide you through the process. So you could know nothing about defibrillators and potentially still save somebody's life. And these phone box defibrillators, this is the one we just looked at, have already been used to save lives across the UK. So very, very important work being done by that charity. It's the first time I've seen a yellow box as well. When I looked it up online, I thought maybe it was gold. And I was trying to figure out, why is it gold? I have heard about gold post boxes in the past, which I think were connected to the London Olympics, but I've never heard of a gold phone box. But now that we're here, I think it's just yellow to signal that it's medical, a medical site, I suppose. All right, we surely must be getting close to a working phone box now. I'm determined. I think we're nearly there. Let's go and see what we can find next. All right, what have you got for us? Saltaire. Oh, not only is it empty, it's locked. All right, on to the next one. Plant pod. Is it just plants? Oh, this is locked as well. Is it real? It's a real phone. Yes. Okay, we made it. How much does it cost? To find out how much this phone costs, please call. Hang on a second. Oh, free of charge. Let's have a little go. Minimum fee 60p. Okay. Who are we going to call? I need somebody to ring. Where do the coins even go? In there? Oh my god, it doesn't even accept them anymore. Oh, you're joking. It's been closed off. No way. This is where I was trying to put my coins in. But it looks like it's just been totally sealed. I'm actually a bit gutted about that. No cash. Oh, okay, I'm blind. This phone does not accept coins. Credit card. That's disappointing. You know what I've also just spotted? We are planning to remove this payphone. 28th of January 2025. So it looks like we found this place just about in the nick of time, but we're not going to be able to make a phone call. I mean, I did make a free phone call. Told me that the minimum charge is 60p. That might be the best we can get though. So the places do still exist at least. You can use them. But I guess if many of them are like this, you're going to have to bring a credit card. Technically, that was a successful mission. We found an active phone box. It just wouldn't take coins anymore. So now I've got a dilemma. What am I going to do with my enormous 60p? What can you buy with 60p in 2025? Maybe, I don't know, 3 Freddos? How much is a Freddo these days? We found some good stuff today though. What did we find? The K1 box, the first ever British phone box. We saw the tourist information box in Haworth, the library box in Oxenhope, the defibrillator box in Willesden, the empty box in Saltaire. I think, by the way, that's probably the shortest trip, the shortest time anyone's ever spent in Saltaire. In case you don't know, Saltaire is a World Heritage Site. It's probably one of the most heavily visited tourist hotspots in Yorkshire, maybe even. And we were there for about, I'd say 4 minutes. We'll go back another time. And we eventually found a working one. Not a bad success rate, in fairness. I do want to know though, and have you got any interesting telephone boxes near you? I'd imagine there must be various different versions and types that I don't know about. Or maybe you've got none at all. One thing we haven't seen, interestingly, is the kind of like the 90s phone boxes. I might be getting the time period wrong, but the ugly metal ones with the glass panes. I haven't seen one of those for a long time. And I think this is going to be the end of the road for us today. So hopefully you've enjoyed our telephone box journey. Hopefully it hasn't been too nerdy. As always, if you know something about this subject that I don't, do let us know in the comments, because one of the things I always look forward to is reading the comments in general, but also learning from people out there who know a lot more than me, and there's plenty of you, believe me. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your support on the channel recently, and a massive thank you to everyone who's now joined as a member on YouTube. All the help I get through the ad revenue and the memberships goes straight back into these videos. And as you've seen from the Brickworks video, potentially, we've got some big plans. So I'm looking forward to keeping these going, bringing you some more exciting stories and visiting all the places that you keep suggesting. So keep those coming as well, please. So thank you for watching, and fingers crossed, I'll see you on the next one.